Our dear friend and dear friend of the show, Phil Giraldi, joins us for his weekly chat. Phil, thank you very much, my dear friend. As you know, no matter what we talk about, it's always a pleasure. Is Israel as a country a strategic asset to the United States?
Well, I would answer that even more broadly than the question poses. I would say Israel is no asset to the United States. Israel basically is a liability in that it involves the United States in conflicts that are not intrinsic to United States national security. I would point out the persisting bad relationship with Iran. I've traveled to Iran. I know people who have, and the Iranian people are very, in many ways, pro-American. But the persisting bad relationship is largely due to Israel, which of course carries out covert actions, assassinates officials, and Donald Trump picked up on that by assassinating his own Iranian senior officials. So I would say it's a deficit for us. It persists in bad relations with Syria. It makes our relationship with the Muslim world in general difficult, and it particularly makes it difficult in terms of the actual our world, the Middle East. So I would go the other direction and say we would be much better off without this so-called alliance, as the congressional mouthpieces tend to call it. There is no alliance with Israel. Is alliance requires reciprocity. There is no reciprocity with Israel, as we're seeing right now, where Biden is trying to get Israel to nudge away from the mass killings that it's engaging in, and Israel is basically saying to hell, no.
Is there any reason for this alliance? I say it in quote because you're right, there is no treaty and it's not bilateral. But is there any reason for this relationship other than domestic politics? Is there any national security or foreign affairs basis for this unique relationship?
Well, I would argue there is no basis in terms of foreign policy imperatives for either the United States. Well, certainly Israel has a major incentive, which is that it has an open door to our treasury to the tune of billions and billions of dollars a year. And it also uses the United States to supply its weapons, which is another major issue for Israel. But there are no issues for the United States in terms of Israel protecting us or providing us with secret intelligence information that basically assists us. When I was based in Turkey, I used to see all the what they call liaison information coming out of Israel that was shared with the United States government, and it was nonsense. It was always pieces of information that were largely contrived to make the Arabs look bad, and that was in terms of what I was seeing, that was an eye opener for me. Uh, this is what we're getting in exchange for what we give. This is absurd.
Can Israel eradicate the Palestinians from Gaza without support from the United States?
Um, I would argue that the support necessary for Israel to, shall we say, eliminate the Palestinians in Gaza would be limited to some weapons that the Israelis, like these 2,000 pound bunker buster bombs that can penetrate, through 40, 50 feet of masonry and destroy, so-called, command centers underground. They would like to have these weapons, like to have more of them. They've already gotten some of them. But apart from that, Israel is looking at different things. I saw a quote from an Israeli general uh, yesterday, I think it was, who was saying basically he was envisioning plague, in other words, releasing uh, diseases to kill off the Palestinian population in Gaza. Another official in the Netanyahu administration has proposed using nuclear weapons. Israel has a secret nuclear arsenal and they have nuclear weapons. He was saying this might be the easy way to eradicate the population. Other tricks are being tried in terms of the European community has been coming up with some billions of dollars to try to bribe the Egyptian and Jordanian governments to take the Gazans. In other words, remove them from Gaza and push them into Egypt and push them into Jordan. So this is in the air. There are all kinds of things going, but they all come to the same conclusion, which is the Netanyahu decision. And there is an intelligence report, an Israeli intelligence report that confirms this, that the preferred solution for Gaza is to get rid of the Gazans.
Tell me what you think of this clip from Max Blumenthal on this show last week.
Well, the Biden administration could end the occupation of Palestine tomorrow. They could have a Palestinian state while we're doing this live stream. All they have to do is say no more spare parts for your F-16s, no more F-35s, and it's over. Because Israel its occupation depends entirely on its direct line to Washington. And Biden won't do that. And Tony Blinken won't do that because Tony Blinken comes from a long line of Israel lobbyists.
Makes sense to you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Colonel Macgregor is another one who's been saying that, this could end in 5 minutes. All Biden has to do is pick up the phone and say, look, we're going to cut off your $10 billion-ish that you get every year from us, plus this $14 billion extra that we were going to give you to complete this war, plus our supply of weapons. And Mac is absolutely right. You cut off the things that Israel needs and do it deliberately to make them shift their policy away from genocide, and they would have to go along with it. And even Netanyahu would have to go along with it. So I think he's absolutely right.
Instead, we have this Vice President Harris on how many Palestinians or too many Palestinians dead.
President Biden and I have also been clear with the Israeli government in public and in private many times. As Israel defends itself, it matters how. The United States is unequivocal. International humanitarian law must be respected. Too many innocent Palestinians have been killed.
Too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. One innocent Palestinian killed is too many.
Well,
one innocent Palestinian killed with American weaponry is a war crime.
Absolutely. And also it's
does Netanyahu's government believe that any Palestinians are innocent?
No, in fact, they have explicitly said that there are no innocent Gazans because, hey, they elected that government of Hamas, so they're all guilty. So this is the thinking that's going on about Gaza. And of course, the spillover is into the West Bank, where other Palestinians are being shot dead by armed settlers and by army. And there have been over 3,000 arrests without charges of Palestinians who have done absolutely nothing on the West Bank. So this is a clear policy to really create a Palestine without Palestinians. That's where they're going, and that's what they want, and they've been quite explicit about it. So I don't think anybody should doubt that this is the policy. And if Biden had any nerve, you might call it, he would be confronting Netanyahu instead of having his vice president get on and say this stuff is unacceptable. And you say it's unacceptable, but you keep supporting them 100% in the killing, and you're complicit in the killing, and you're a war criminal by association in the killing, and you're complicit in genocide. Is this a great place where the United States wants to be, particularly as there is no threat coming from the Palestinians or anyone associated with them towards America? This is totally contrived.
Here's Secretary of State Blinken trying to split philosophical hairs between intent and effect when he's talking about the slaughter of innocents in Gaza.
You've talked about what you made clear to Prime Minister Netanyahu and the War Cabinet, but what concrete and specific assurances have you gotten from them, if any? Based on what you heard from them today, are you confident Israel will follow the international laws of war in southern Gaza when it resumes its military operations? Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mara. So, as I said, we made clear the imperative that before any operations go forward in southern Gaza, that there be a clear plan in place that puts a premium on protecting civilians, as well as sustaining and building on the humanitarian assistance that's getting into Gaza. And the Israeli government agreed with that approach. Israel understands the imperative of protecting civilians, the imperative of humanitarian assistance, and will continue to work to ensure that that carries forward in practice. And again, as I said to the Prime Minister, to the War Cabinet, intent is obviously where you start, and it's vitally important. And I'm very confident in the intent, but results, of course, are fundamentally what matters.
What a tortured man he appears to be as he tries to walk a tightrope between being the chief proponent of unlimited aid to Israel, but the human side of him horrified, I think, at what Israel is doing. I mean, this results in absurd statements like that one. Israel understands the imperative of protecting civilians. That's hogwash, Phil. Hogwash.
Yeah, that's belied by the lines of dead children that one sees every morning after a night's bombing. There have been something like 1,000 new victims every day since Israel restarted its attacks on Gaza after that brief pause. This is just outrageous. Everybody is talking out both sides of their mouth. The option for the United States, in addition to putting direct pressure on Israel by threatening to take away money and take away weapons, would be to go to the United Nations and sponsor a motion sponsored by the United States saying that there should be an immediate ceasefire and talks between Gaza and Israel, and put it right there in front of them.
What the heck would they do if the Security Council voted unanimous? I don't think Israel's on the Security Council this time around. If the Security Council voted unanimously, it wouldn't happen. The U.S. wouldn't do that. But even if the U.S. did, do you think that would stop Netanyahu and his crew?
I think it would give him pause. I think the fact is that the only thing Netanyahu seems sensitive to is the very real fact that world opinion has really swung strongly against his country. And that could easily have long-term consequences with countries with which Israel has had at least an acceptable relationship. It's going very quickly in the other direction. And I think even someone like Netanyahu has to see that ultimately that is not a good place you want to be.
Have Israeli leaders, in particular one of Netanyahu's predecessors, Ariel Sharon, boasted that the Jewish people or the Israeli government, as crazy as this sounds, Phil, I'm going to read it, controls America?
Yeah, he said that, and he said he very very explicit. He said the Jewish people control America, and Netanyahu has made similar comments to the effect that his comment was the effect of that the United States is a country that is easily moved. I think the implication was easily moved by Israeli interests. So yeah, this is a perception that's in the head of their leadership. That the I think what it means to put it in practical terms is that they're saying that the Israel lobby in the United States, which consists of Jewish groups and also Christian Zionists, is so powerful that they can really call the shots on policies that relate to the Middle East and in terms of how the United States will cooperate with Israeli interests. I think that's exactly what they're saying.
One of the either current or former members of Prime Minister Netanyahu's cabinet, I don't remember his name, said, "We will turn Khan Yunis into a soccer field." What does that mean? What is Khan Yunis? Is that some athletic complex?
Well, I think she was referring to a specific field that's located in Gaza. This was a woman, a delegate who's a Likudnik, the right-wing party, Netanyahu's party, who made an off-the-cuff comment about basically the solution being to get rid of all Gazans. So essentially, you're going to level the field. You're going to turn everything
Ooh.
into basically something like a soccer field.
But what is Khan Yunis? Is that a city in Gaza that she's suggesting
Khan
be
Yunis
leveled?
it's a city, and also it's the biggest city in southern Gaza, and it's also the site of a refugee camp. So it's got a little bit of both.
How do you see this ending, my friend? I mean, where are the academics in the U.S.? Where's the left in the U.S.? Where are the intellectuals? Where are the people horrified with slaughter and murder and death and genocide and ethnic cleansing? Where are they?
Well, actually, there are quite a few of them around. There have been major demonstrations in a lot of cities on weekends and things like that that are not even being reported by the mainstream media because the mainstream media is sympathetic to Israel and always has been. And these demonstrations are taking place. I think there's one in Washington coming up this weekend. And there have been a number of them, and the people turning out are quite numerous. And I always like to say that even though the mainstream media is not covering these issues, if you go online, online being a gift to people like me, and you read the articles, you skip down to the comments, and that's where you'll see how people are waking up to these issues, how people are revolted by what's going on, the mass murders and the deaths of children. This is just awful, and I think you have to realize that this has really gained some legs. The argument that Israel is way beyond acceptable in terms of its behavior and is no longer justifiable by describing it as a right to defend itself, as every American politician seems to want to do. This is way beyond that. This is an atrocity, and the United States is implicit and complicit in it.
And will there be an exposure of all this? Will there be transparency when the war is over? Will people be punished for their war crimes? Will Joe Biden be punished? Will Tony Blinken? Will Lloyd Austin? Will Bibi Netanyahu?
No, no one will be punished. I think we have to accept the fact that the United States has gotten through a lot of unjustified wars ever since World War II, and has killed millions of people in countries that were no threat to the United States, where there was no casus belli justifying what took place. But they've gotten away with it time and again, and they'll get away with it again. But what I would like to at least see is some kind of understanding on the part of the public, or a part of the public that is interested in what the United States does and how it does it, that this was awful. We've come to that understanding about what we did to Iraq. We've come to that understanding about what we did to Afghanistan. You might throw Libya into that pile, and we're trying to do the same thing to Syria. We've done awful things in these places, but you can read about it now. People are looking back on it and saying, look, these things were wrong, and they continue to be wrong. So maybe there will be a learning curve. I'm not too optimistic about that, but I would love to think that actually the United States, the country I love, the people I love, will learn from their mistakes.
Phil, you are a man of great morality and great courage to speak out the way you do. I wish more people would say what you say and think how you think. And I wish the government would listen to you. I think it's hopeless with this administration. It's not hopeless with the future because history has 20/20 hindsight. But Phil, thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your